All right. Let's see.
All right.
What are we gonna do?
What are we doing on that?
Hello, and welcome to Way Too Broad, a place for friends to talk about the things that they're really, really ridiculously excited about. I'm Hannah, and these are my co-hosts, Erin, and the valedictorian of the BU School of Engineering with a grade point average of 3.979, Ben.
Ben Brown.
Oh my god, you froze in the middle of that on my screen.
No!
Wait. Oh, I missed it.
Wait, what did you miss?
I missed you freezing because I had to have my notes up because until Erin texted me about your GPA earlier today, Ben, didn't know what your GPA was.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to screw the pooch.
It wasn't like a spoiler. I had to read it.
Did you see that the salutatorian was only 0.002 below me?
Yes. That's gotta hurt.
Insane.
So congratulations, Ben.
Thanks.
Ben, I'm so freaking proud of you. I loved that video of your standing up, I guess. That's all you really did. And your family. And I was wondering where the fuck Hannah was during all of that.
She decided not to come. So I had two commencements. There was one for the College of Engineering, which I actually got my degree, and where that happened. And then there was one for the whole school, which John Lewis spoke at. Mm-hmm. And Hannah decided to only come to the John Lewis one.
Oh, I see how it is.
In her defense,
I didn't tell anyone that I was valedictorian beforehand.
Right.
I left it a surprise.
That's really sweet. I just imagine your family, like, freaking the fuck out.
I didn't even... Okay, here's something I can't defend. I haven't even watched the video yet.
I should be your sister, Ben. I should be your sister. I know. Me and Molly watched it so many times. We watched that one part like a million times. We watched it once because it was really sweet, and then I didn't realize that your family didn't know, so we watched it again so I could look at everybody's faces, and then I watched it again because I'm like, where the fuck was Hannah? So, you know what? I'm your sister now.
Sick.
Officially, yep. Hey, you know what? Can you just wait until I leave the room at least to be excited about this? No, it was a really great weekend. My dad was overflowing with pride. I found out when Mom posted on Facebook a picture of Ben's face like up on the big screen, wherever the hell that was.
Because you weren't there.
Yeah, I wasn't there. I was gardening.
Oh, everybody leave her alone. She was gardening. Hannah, I didn't realize if you had only said.
Gotta get the garden done. Gotta be the valedictorian of the garden.
Congratulations on that.
Hannah, you're so great. What's your GPA? And by that I mean gardening plant average.
You saved that one.
Thank you.
I didn't know where you were going when you started it, but you came through.
But yeah, no, let's see. Also shout outs to Kylie, who got a distinguished, what kind of award?
Teaching Excellence Award.
Teaching Excellence Award.
Congratulations,
Kylie,
for getting tea.
She was also the student speaker at her computer science graduation.
Yeah, she made us speak.
Holy shit.
Yeah. She did a great job.
Congratulations.
It was good. I watched that video. Can I be Kylie's sister now?
Yeah. That's
Sweet.
Weird, though.
Awesome.
Yeah, send that to me, though.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I did not see that. I'm not on Facebook, but Molly just tells me some things sometimes.
That's cool. So yeah, it was a big surprise, partially because, Ben, you didn't know until right up till the end, right?
I didn't know for sure until the day before. They told me almost a week ago that I was a candidate for either salutatorian or valedictorian, but it wouldn't be finalized until like our final semester grades were finalized, and then they told me the day before graduation that I was valedictorian.
That was close.
Yeah.
And Kylie was sitting with our family, and she knew, and even when they read out the salutatorian's GPA and my parents started getting suspicious, she was like very sly about it. And now they call her, what do they call her now? Wile Kylie?
Do they call her that?
Took him freaking long enough to start calling her that. It's right there.
That's what Mom said. She's Wile Kylie now. So, well, what's everybody drinking?
Winder.
Water. I am excited to tell you what I'm drinking.
Okay.
Because I'm drinking a decaffeinated coffee, and I'm drinking a seltzer, and I bet you $100 that you cannot guess the flavor. Either of you.
Pants.
Mustard.
Close.
Is it mustard?
Nope.
It's either pants or mustard.
Close. Both are really good answers.
What is it?
Is that really your only two guesses? Of pants and mustard? You're like, we're tapped out. Those are the only two flavors we could possibly think of. Well, if it's on pants, I don't know what it could be.
What others even are there?
What others even are there?
Is it mango pants?
Nope.
Oh.
Mango mustard.
Yes.
Got it.
It is a Dr. Pepper flavored seltzer.
What?
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's actually very good.
Wait, was that
an ad?
Hang on, because Erin, just for the listener, you just opened that. So did you know what you were gonna say after the word actually? Have you had this before?
Yeah.
Or
So let me break this down for you.
All right.
This has been a dream of mine. So I love seltzer water. It got me off of soda. I hated that I was a soda drinker, and once seltzer came into my life, I was able to cut ties with soda because I hate artificial sweetener, so diet soda doesn't do it for me. But I've been like dreaming of the day that they come out with like a Coke or Dr. Pepper flavored seltzer, because they have all these crazy combinations. You know they could do it. Mm-hmm. And I was in the grocery store, and it's kind of a lie to say it's Dr. Pepper because it's actually like the Kroger, which is our local grocery store here, flavored. It's like the Kroger knockoff seltzer, so it's with a hint of the Dr. flavor.
That's what it's called, Dr. Flavor.
Yeah.
Dr. Spice. That goes with salt.
The Dr. Flavor.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they have one with cola and they have one with Dr. Pepper, and they're both pretty good. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
How much money did we just lose? $100?
Yeah.
Wow.
You each owe me $100.
Fuck.
Gosh. That's a shame.
Yep. Boo on you.
Well, congratulations on your seltzer
Thank you.
dream coming true.
I feel like the valedictorian.
I posted on the wonderful. So the podcast is called Wonderful. It's Griffin and Rachel McElroy's knockoff of our podcast, and ours, we recorded ours first. That's all I'm saying, and they came out in the same week.
Bitch.
That's all I'm saying.
Bitch.
But they have a really nice, lovely Facebook community that I'm part of, and on the weekends it's a free for all. You can post anything that you find to be wonderful, and they'll basically let it through the moderators. So when I found out Ben was valedictorian, I posted on there saying it, and they were very, very happy. I got lots of reactions, and then also I posted, I am so proud right now. I basically finished college with a participation trophy, which is true. I'm drinking a seltzer also. I'll bet you $5 you can't guess the flavor.
Pamplemousse.
No.
Peanut.
No.
Peanut butter.
It's mango.
Oh.
And it's called boobly.
You let us guess like 3 flavors. What the fuck?
Well, I think she knew from previous experience that we only had 2 guesses in us. So
Right.
My next guess was pants, but that's beside the point.
what brand is boobly?
It's I think it's owned by
Is it Target?
somebody.
Are you making seltzer noises?
Trying to read this. It's really hard to read. It's like a Pepsi or a Coke company that owns it.
Is it Pepsi or is it Coke? It should be pretty clear.
Fuck you, Ben.
Fuck you, Ben.
Fuck.
It's nowhere. I mean, I don't know. But I've tried to look it up before and I feel like it is. But I'm drinking something else too. Or I'm about to be.
What is it?
Do you recall...
Is this a pants flavored seltzer?
Jesus Christ.
Do you recall me talking about Bantam Rojo before?
Yeah, what was that?
Cider.
It was a cider, and it was delicious. And Bantam came out with a limited release hibiscus mint seltzer.
Oh,
Seltzer! Cider.
Oh, shit.
Hibiscus mint?
Is what I'm drinking. And
That
I'll tell
sounds
you
great.
what, it is delicious. I cannot taste any hibiscus or mint, but I like it a lot. So good on them.
Way to
I'm
go.
sorry in advance for the fact that Como has now been digging in his litter box for about 4 minutes straight. Of what he's doing in there.
It's just that kind of night for us all tonight. He's finishing his episode of The Terrace House.
Oh, okay. That is another thing I just need to talk about up front. I don't know if either of you got on any part of the Terrace House bandwagon at any point. I know that I talked about it in like a really early episode, but there's a new season out. Actually, the second part of it just came out on Netflix called Opening New Doors, and it is absolutely my favorite season. It's so good. It's so good. It's so sweet, and also so, like, you get so angry at people and then they leave, which is what you want, and so it's like cathartic, and like there's these really sweet relationships, and it's just like quality watching experiences. We watched the first 2 episodes of the second part of it tonight, and I was just like laughing hysterically all the time at how much beauty there was. So
Aww. Laughing at the beauty.
yep.
That's nice.
That's life, you know.
So earlier, to catch our listeners up, Hannah was like 5 minutes late to our recording sesh, and we all thought she was pooping. All of us. And she was like, when she came on, we were like, what were you doing? And she was like, oh, I was finishing an episode of The Terrace House. So now that's like totally code for pooping.
Right. I mean, no, I'm not going to say that. It's not true. I don't lie to you guys on this podcast.
I have a small upfront thing.
Okay.
Which is, we made some really tasty potatoes tonight, and I wanted to share the recipe.
Please
okay.
do.
What?
Please do.
So we often make these really tasty, crispy potatoes then I make a sriracha mayonnaise that's very delicious. But the potatoes tonight were the tastiest we've ever made them, and the recipe is unique, so I thought I would share it on pod. So what you do to make this recipe normally is you cut the potatoes up into little wedges, and then you coat them generously with olive oil and garlic salt, and cook them and space them apart so they're not touching any of the other potatoes, and cook them at 400 degrees. And the way that you make this special recipe that we made, we kind of like accidentally had this twist on it, is that you do that at like 2 a.m. when you're extremely drunk, and then you only cook them halfway through because you decided that even though you started these potatoes, you actually just want to go to bed. So you pull them out of the oven and you leave them on your stove overnight and forget about them entirely until the next morning when you wake up at like 10 or 11, super hungover, and you're like, oh, those potatoes, they're probably fine. And then you put them in a Tupperware and you put them in your fridge for like 2 nights, 1 to 2 nights, and then you cook them again one night for dinner. You put them in the oven. They can just, at this point, they're kind of pre-seasoned, so you can just stick them right on a pan, right into the oven at 400 for about, I would say 20 to 25 minutes until they're nice and crispy. You won't believe the texture of those things. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm not even kidding. I'm like, this sucks because this is the best they've ever been.
Now you have to recreate that every weekend.
I know. It's going to be rough on my liver.
That's very, very good. Very good one. I have another thing. I have another 2 things.
I have a couple more things. It's usually how people say that.
That is one other way to say it. The first thing is, I sort of mentioned it earlier, just want to give it a good big shout out to gardening. It's been real fun.
Oh, is that not your obsession this week?
It already was my obsession.
No, your backyard was your obsession.
Oh, no.
Coming correct with regards to your backyard.
We don't split hairs here, Hannah. You could have done gardening too.
Well, I'm just going to give a shout out to it. I pulled up a bunch of wild roses and roots for bittersweet vines in the back the other day, yesterday, and it was so fucking cathartic. I like chopped some shit up. It was amazing.
Shout out. Shout freaking out.
Shout freaking out. And also, just another big milestone did happen this weekend. Probably a bigger one than Ben's whole thing. which is that we broke our next 1,000 in total unique downloads. So,
oh, wow.
So we've had over 2,000 downloads.
That's
now.
Definitely bigger.
Yeah, that's bigger. And we worked harder for that than Ben did over his entire 4-year college career.
Yeah, we worked like at least 1 hour a night, a week each.
Yeah, totally.
1 hour a night a week.
To narrate,
I got cider on my forehead.
And then just spit out her not very hibiscusy or minty cider all over herself.
But still good. Still tasty.
It's still really good. Just all over. Okay. That's all I have for upfront stuff. Ben, do you have any upfront stuff?
I got nothing.
Ben, what have you been doing with all your free time?
Yeah, Ben.
Let's see. Well, yesterday, my obsession, I verbed it. So, I'll talk about that later. Today, I went shopping for clothes for probably the first time in my life.
Wow.
I've never, at least my adult life, I've never really
Have
gone,
you been wearing a onesie this whole time?
I've never really gone, shopping for clothes for myself. So I don't like spending money on anything. And I also generally don't care that much about how I look often. But I was watching Queer Eye.
Oh.
And honestly, what stuck with me about... We finished it yesterday, or the day before, I don't remember. And one of the things that stuck with me from that show is how every person they talked to, Tan would always be like, because a lot of them would say, like, I don't really care that much about how I look, I just care about being comfortable, which is what I say all the time. And then Tan would always be like, especially the people that were in a relationship, be like, well, your wife tries to look good for you.
Yep.
You should try to look good for her. And I was like, that's a good point. And I never really, because, like, I never really wanted to look good for me or for other people around me, but I feel like I should for Kylie, because she does, like, put in an effort to look good.
Aww.
And so we went shopping together, and she helped me pick out clothes, because I'm bad at getting clothes.
I love that so much.
That's so much. That's so nice.
It was fun. It took a long-ass time, though.
Yeah. I bet you'll feel good wearing all those new clothes.
Yeah, I think so.
Looking sharp AF.
I also just, like, needed...
Yeah, you've got holes in all your clothes. I've been meaning to tell you.
Honey.
All my clothes.
And all of them.
I had one really good pair of jeans that I liked left, and then the other day we were walking Como. We started walking him again, and he almost jumped out of his harness again.
Oh, no.
And we, like, had to tackle him, kind of. And in the process, I tore the knees on those jeans.
No.
And scraped my knee, so they're, like, shitty now. I mean, I'm still gonna wear them because I like them. They don't look that bad with the scraped knee, but yeah, I needed new jeans and new shorts.
There's a news article from the Palm Beach Post in Florida. Lake Worth falsely sends out zombie alert during power outage. This is the alert that went out to their customers on Sunday. Power outage and zombie alert for residents of Lake Worth and Terminus. There are now far less than 7,380 customers involved due to extreme zombie activity. Restoration time uncertain.
What the fuck?
It sounds like it was someone's last day or something.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I don't think they know exactly how it happened yet, but obviously someone
is in trouble.
Yeah.
That's so fucking funny.
Sorry that I had to step away. I had tried watching an episode of Terrace House earlier, but my internet was slow.
Oh, okay.
And it had finally finished buffering and was about to be on autoplay.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you made it to the TV in time.
Me too, Hannah.
I just hope that this new euphemism doesn't deter you from watching the actual show, because it's very good.
It might encourage me to, top of mind and all.
Right. That's true. Okay, so Ben, that's really sweet that you're getting all dressed better for Kylie.
And you know what, Ben, you deserve it.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
You're sorry, what? Sorry, Hannah.
Sorry, Como's still slipping his
harness.
We're
not doing the walks anymore. It's too much. He got stressed and we kind of didn't notice, and that was when and then something happened that made him just, like, jump out. So we're not doing it anymore for real this time.
Yeah.
For reals.
Yeah. He's too precious.
Precious cargo.
Goddamn right.
And a harno.
You sound less sick, Ben.
I am less sick.
Very good.
Fewer sick, even.
You're sick? You made me sick.
He said fewer sick.
Fewer sick.
Like a real asshole.
My favorite thing to do is to correct Kylie when she says one of the lesser fewer correctly and correct her with the wrong one.
So incorrect her?
Yes, incorrect her. It confuses her every time, and anyone you do it to. Makes them rethink about it for a second.
Yeah.
Especially because I'm normally, like, a real stickler for that kind of thing. So then when I, like, go the other way, it's like, wait, what? He usually knows what's right there. Then
Ben, you're so cheeky.
Are you a stickler for grammar things? Like, are you one that would, like, correct your family members if they said the wrong thing?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't correct you last episode, but Hannah asked you who was going to Disney World, and you were like, myself and Kylie. which is like the improper use of the reflexive. So not
That's
to be
true.
not to be all GPA on you, but
That's true. It's not a subject.
what?
Myself is not a subject.
That's right. But people do that all the time. You know what? I feel like it's becoming one.
Yeah.
It's like people do that. Just almost everyone does.
Just for fun.
I just like to treat
Me.
I just like to say whatever myself wants.
Yeah. Well, if I've learned anything from the vocal fries, it's that language changes over time. That's a podcast I listen to.
Oh, gotcha. Cool.
It's very good.
It does. It does. I think that's going to be one that becomes, like literally now also means figuratively.
I hate
That
that.
still really annoys me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we get into it? Yo.
Yo.
Did someone ask you to take the trash out?
It is trash night, Hannah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Erin, you're up first.
Oh, I had a worry that I was going to be up first.
Uh-oh. Why?
Do you not being first?
No, I just am. I'm a little ashamed of mine this week. It's kind of a guilty pleasure.
Oh, I love those.
Okay, great.
Right.
I shouldn't be ashamed because I think it was once a very popular show. Perhaps still is. Okay, did y'all ever see Dateline To Catch a Predator?
No, I mean,
I honestly
maybe...
have never seen a full episode of it, no.
Yeah, probably clips.
Everyone's aware of the premise.
Yes.
Yes.
So what's his face? It works with the police. Chris Matthews or Matthews Chris or
Chris Matthews.
Matthew Chris's.
It's not
Nathan
Chris Matthews, is it?
Hammer. What's his name?
I don't know.
All right,
You
hang
said
on.
so many. Those are such different names.
To Catch a Predator host. Chris Hansen.
Chris Hansen. Chris Hansen? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Matthews Nathan hosts the show. And he works with the police to catch a predator.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say before. I was like, it's kind of all in the name.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so Steve Holt works closely with the...
Steve Holt.
Yeah, they basically, pose as 13, 12, 14, 15-year-olds.
Okay, sorry. Just why'd
Have
you
you
go that
watched
way?
this show?
What I think is that there's a man. He has a name and he pretends to be a different age.
So, Pete Manson works with local police officers
To catch a predator.
They pretend to be young children and they post online as those young children to catch a predator.
Now I have a question. You say they're posting online as small children. To what end?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. I fear I've forgotten to say. To catch a predator.
Oh.
Okay, so the reason this started was that I was looking for a movie on Amazon Prime, and I saw that there was a Prime Video called, Predator Hunter. No, that's not right. The Pedophile Hunter.
Wow.
Sorry, that's also not funny.
That sounds more fake.
And I was like, oh, That's right. I used to like that Dateline To Catch a Predator with Steve Matthews.
Dave Matthews.
Dave Matthews Band. And so I watched it, and I wouldn't really recommend that one as much. It's much more graphic than...
Wait, which one was real? Predator? No, Pedophile Hunter was real?
I think it's called Pedophile Hunter.
Gross.
So anyway...
Wait, is Pete Benson not real?
The Pedophile Hunter it's a documentary about these men in England who they're kind of like vigilante dudes who pose online as like 13, 12, 14, 15-year-olds to catch a predator, to pedophile hunt.
Yeah.
I think the guy's name is something Hunter. Like, I think his name is Pedophile Hunter. his name is, like, Steven, or... It's like Steven, but in a weird way. Like, Stevani, or something Hunter. And he and his crew, like, do this without the aid of police, but then they, like, record... They have all of this evidence, and they turn it into police. And then these dudes get caught and... arrested, and which made me, so I watched this, and it's like really graphic. Like they like have like some really explicit like text messages that they share, and they share like blurred out pictures of like dudes' junk, but it's like not that blurred out.
Oh, no.
And you can like really just pretty much see everything.
Oh no.
Yeah. And it's not great. And then I was watching on YouTube a bunch of old videos of To Catch a Predator with Pat McCrory. And then apparently he started like, so that was like, I guess, an old series, but then he like had another reboot recently-ish. I don't know how recent it was. And it was called it has this freaking name in it.
Chris Hansen.
Hansen versus...
Ted Danson.
Danson versus Predators? Hold on. Hansen versus Predator. Yeah.
Come on, that can't be what it's called. Really?
It's called, and I think
like Alien
and I
versus
think it's
Predator?
recent.
Right? Whoa.
Hansen versus Predator.
What?
It really is.
And it's like recent. It looks like it's 2018 maybe.
Wait, what's it called?
Hansen versus Predator.
Oh my god! Sorry, you got robot-y on me for a second.
I think it was the internet.
Sorry, yeah. If I open another tab and do a Google, it is weird.
Okay. Gotcha.
Oh, it was funded with Kickstarter.
Oh. I mean, I think it's great work that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think unfortunately, probably for the most part, these people are only catching the really dumb ones.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I think, you know, they're probably catching people who would have probably done a lot of really terrible things, and probably people who have already. What?
You said probably like 5 times in that sentence.
To Catch a Predator.
I probably did, Ben. Anyway.
So you've been watching this and just, like, appreciating it for what it used to be and what it is now.
Yeah, I appreciate that these people, To Catch a Predator. Yeah,
Cool.
it's just, it's like, you know, I don't know. I like seeing these little bits of justice, I guess.
Yeah.
You know. Have you ever watched it? You guys ever watched it?
No.
I don't know if I've watched that specifically, but I've watched this kind of thing, like the documentaries where you get to see, where you don't get to see, but like it allows you to see inside of like the darker sides of the way that people act.
Yeah.
It's like, it is fascinating. I get why it's an obsession. Like it's not like you're not like, I can't wait to watch more of this, but you're like, I need to absorb all of this that I can, so that I
can't look away.
Right. So that
yeah,
know what to look out for or whatever. And like,
yeah, it's like, I can't tell you like why I've been watching it so much. It's like, it's just like that. It's just like fascinating. Like, who are these people?
Mm-hmm. This
Hint,
is
mostly white dudes. So.
Yeah. This is pretty different, but in some ways, like maybe the detective work is sort of similar. I really like the show Catfish, and it's like the same thing. It's like when I get into a jag of watching Catfish, I cannot stop watching it.
What is Catfish?
It's, I can't believe I've never talked to you about Catfish. It's an MTV show. It was based off of a documentary of this guy, Neve is his name, and he fell in love with a woman online who turned out to be not who she said she was, and for some reason that I don't remember, they ended up calling that like comparing her to a catfish, so that's what they called the movie, and then it got turned into a TV show. So now, like, when people talk about catfishing someone online, that's where that came from. Gotcha. Was that movie. But now they have a TV show, and they go and help other people who believe that they are probably being lied to online, and they help them figure out who the person is on the other end. Of course, usually, most of the time, the person on the other end is like not necessarily a bad person, and they often end up like staying in touch at least a little bit or being friends. It's like a lot of times it's like body image issues or other secrets that they have,
Gotcha.
So it can take a nasty turn, but it's not guaranteed that it will in the same kind of way.
That's kind of similar because like these men are being catfished, but the person on the other end of the line is Jimmy Carter with Dateline.
Right. Dateline's Jimmy Carter. It is sort of like that. But also just, yeah.
I mean, it was an immensely popular show, so I'm not the only one. It wasn't like some underground thing.
No.
I mean, it was on Dateline. NBC.
Yeah. Yeah, we know. We're not...
Yeah.
I don't think you should feel embarrassed.
I
think
don't.
You should be a little embarrassed, but not totally embarrassed. No, I kid. It's good.
Yeah, it's good.
Where do you watch it?
I was just watching on YouTube.
Like, are there whole episodes on YouTube?
Some, yeah, without the commercials.
Oh.
Yep. Yeah, it's interesting because, like, the pedophile hunter doc that I watched was, I don't know, maybe it was earlier. I don't know when it was made. Maybe in the early 2000s. But they kind of, this guy, in addition to like collecting all this data and putting it and sending it to the police, he also like puts it on Facebook and stuff like that, and kind of like publicly humiliates these men. And some people like kind of shame him for that, which I think is really interesting because I think like also now that's kind of interesting to see in the light of like where we are right now, like specifically like exactly right now in society, because we're realizing like how prevalent like all of this sexual abuse is and how many women experience this all the time and have, at all. And it's just like, nah, like I don't feel bad for these dudes at all, So,
yeah.
Anyway, cool. That's all.
Okay, Ben, you're next. Good segment, Erin. Very thought-provoking.
Thanks. What thoughts provoked?
To catch a predator.
Yep.
That's it. Mine's a game.
Oh.
A game!
Was mine a game last week?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It was. It was when Kylie was playing. This one I'm playing. This one's
playing?
mine. It's a game
What's
called... You ready?
Ready.
It originally came out in 2005. I'm going to use some trivia first.
What?
It originally came out in 2005
Okay.
for the PlayStation 2. It was recently... an HD remake of it was recently re-released on the PS4. It's a follow-up to a game called Ico, and it's called Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh. I was gonna guess that or Mustard Pants.
Which is a great game also. Undeniable classic.
I didn't know that was a follow-up to something.
I didn't either until I read... Well, yeah, I didn't either until I read this issue of Game Informer this past month, in which it's their 300th issue, and every 100 issues they make a list of like the top however many 100 games. So this is their 300th issue. They did the top 300 games ever made. Mm-hmm. And Shadow of the Colossus came in 83rd. Which is pretty good.
Wow,
on a top 300 list. It's... Actually, why don't I'll read the little blurb from Game Informer.
Yeah. Blurb it up.
I'm going to blurb it. Here we go.
Blurb,
At a time when video games were still trying to prove themselves as a legitimate medium of artistic expression, creator Fumito Ueda released the epic follow-up to the undeniably touching Ico. As Wander, which is the name of the main character, players took on the seemingly impossible task of felling 16 giants in order to save Mono. By genre classification, Shadow of the Colossus could safely be called a puzzle platformer, but the game was so much more than that. It was an adventure about loss, sacrifice, and misaligned faith in the face of impossible odds. To see Wander's story to its conclusion is to experience an unforgettable journey that any other entertainment medium would struggle to emulate. It was recently remade in its entirety for PlayStation 4, and it is as enthralling today as it was in 2005.
Wow.
So I think that's one of the most interesting things about this game is that it's very beautiful, and not just like, and I don't just mean like good graphics, like almost I would say it has like really good cinematography, which I think is not a term that people talk about with games a lot, but the camera angles that it like auto aligns into, which to be honest I find when I'm actually playing the game, I find them sometimes to be a little annoying to control with, but they look amazing. Like they would just be, if this was a movie, they would be really amazing shots. And there's nothing else to the game but like going to the next Colossus and defeating them. You travel across this beautiful landscape on your horse.
Wow.
And you find, and there's no user interface really. It's just like you, the horse, and this landscape, and you traveling to these amazing giants that are all different and all kind of beautiful in their own right. And like they almost look a lot of the times like peaceful giants, and you kind of feel bad killing some of them just because they're so cool looking. And you don't really know. So the reason you're doing it is at the beginning of the game, you meet these kind of spirits called the Dormine, who have apparently have like dominion over life and death. Basically, they have the power to bring people back to life. And you're traveling to this temple with this woman named Mono, who's I believe dead at the beginning of the game, and you're trying to bring her back to life. And they tell you the only way to do it, since you're merely immortal, the only way for you to do it is to defeat these 16 colossi. And you don't know anything about Mono or Wander, their relationship. And they warn you like beforehand, these consequences for you could be devastating. And Wander's just like, doesn't matter. And you just go out and start fighting these things. And it's basically a game of like 16 really epic boss battles where you're like climbing these amazing creatures and they're trying to like shake you off, and it's just really beautiful and cool, and it's so cool to travel in.
That sounds so cool.
Yeah, it's really fun to watch.
I'm sending you a video. You can watch it on your own time, okay? Don't fucking give me any shit. But
I'm not equipped to watch that now.
But I think I mentioned this before, but there was an episode of Gil and Gilbert where they played Shadow of the Colossus. So
yeah,
I sent you the highlights for that one.
Did you send that to
me
too?
Where they had to like, didn't they have to like climb each other while they were climbing the
Yes.
Yeah, because there's a lot of climbing the Colossi in this game.
Yes. And then whoever lost had to carry the other one from their office to Times Square. They did it too. It was great. Cool. Yeah.
Did you enjoy watching them play it?
I did. It is very beautiful. And they did 3 different of the Colossi. Apparently Brian had to like beat the whole game during the course of the day because they had to get to like time trials mode to play. And you couldn't do that unless you beat the game. But yeah, they did 3 of them, and they were all very different and very interesting.
Yep.
Of course, that does sound like my nightmare as far as games go, because I would so much rather avoid boss battles forever. I was just thinking the other day, I never did finish Breath of the Wild because I just... Sorry, I caught you that time, man. Because I just don't want to... I've done the 4... divine beasts, and I just don't want to do any more boss battles.
Kylie and I were actually talking about how it seems like Breath of the Wild took some inspiration, at least, from Shadow of the Colossus in terms of like the divine beasts, and just a lot of them aesthetically are similar to some of the Colossi. I would say, like there's a camel.
Sorry,
and a bird.
There's a camel and a bird. Yeah. Which 3 did you watch Gil and Gilbert fight?
I watched the Birdo.
That one's so cool. I just did that one.
And I watched, there was this one where they had to, like, shoot him to get his attention, and then he would come and look, and they would climb up on him, like, on his shoulder or something.
He's got, like, a beard?
Yeah.
He had, like, a beard? Yeah, I thought that one, too.
And then the other one was just walking around, and they had to climb up his little leg. It was a big leg, actually.
It sounds...
Colossal.
That sounds like the first one.
Could be. Could have been.
What were you going to say, Erin?
Well, I had a cue that I then forgot.
Shit.
Fuck. Hold on. Giants. Nope. Gone. Sorry.
Fuck.
I'll think of it.
While
How many
you're
have
thinking
you beaten,
of it,
Ben?
7, I think.
I remembered. Did you say it was a remake of one called Ico?
No, it's a follow-up to a game called Ico.
What is Ico?
I don't know. I never played it. Although that was on the top 300 list too. It was lower than Shadow of the Colossus. It's also, I think it came out like 2001. And then Shadow of the Colossus came out in 2005, and the remake came out this year.
You ride around on a horse and you fight like miniature people.
How you spell?
ICO.
Oh, I spelled it wrong.
How you spell?
It's actually myself, CO.
How you weigh, bro? What's that from?
What's that from? The Hannah Brown story.
I'm super glad they remade Shadow of the Colossus, because I started playing the original version on PS2. Kylie gave me hers because she loved this game as a kid. But then, like, after I think the 4th Colossus, the disc stopped working. Like, the game would just crash every time because it was an old scratched up disc. And you could just really tell that artistically the game was, like, way ahead of PS2 graphics. But on the PS4, it's amazingly nice looking.
Cool.
Amazingly nice
looking.
I'm watching the trailer for Ico. Is this how you do a podcast?
Yeah, you privately watch something and then don't respond to us.
Just dead air.
It's very long.
Exactly it. Yeah, especially a long
Definitely
one.
Watch long trailers.
That's totally better. And
definitely, and also do it right towards the end of a segment, and then before your segment starts.
Yeah, just zone the
just
fuck out.
Leave a bit of dead air between the two.
And then don't edit it out. Just keep it.
Definitely leave this whole interlude in.
If the listeners don't want to listen to this, then they can go listen to something else.
That's accurate.
And they will.
They can just go listen to themselves listening to an Ico preview and not you listening to an Ico preview through your headphones that we can't hear.
It looks...
You're still doing it, aren't you? You were still watching that whole time.
I was clicking through it. I just closed it.
Is that better, do you think? That you clicked through it?
What's the alternative? It's just sit here and listen to you guys yell at me?
Do it on your own time. Do it on your own time, I think, is the alternative.
You're the one that got us into this. Don't complain about us yelling at you.
Okay, but listen. It looks okay. It looks like a Zelda knockoff to me. Ico. Not a knockoff, but it looks inspired by Zelda.
Everything's inspired by Zelda. That's not fair.
You're freak.
I'm inspired by Zelda.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Myself am
inspired by Zelda.
Speaking of Zelda, do you want to know what was number 1 on the top 300 list?
Zelda.
Which one, though?
Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh.
Majora's Mask.
Breath of the Wild.
Nope.
Sick.
Was it
Sick Zelda?
It was.
It was Sick Zelda, wasn't it?
It was A Link to the Past.
Oh. Is that the one with the... No, that's the Twilight Princess. I don't even know that one.
It's on the Super Nintendo.
Oh.
It's very popular and good.
So
I think I own it for my Super Nintendo.
Would you say it was the valedictorian of the list?
I would say so, yeah.
Well, you would know. All
I'm
right.
an expert on that now.
With a gameplay average of...
Nice.
3.9.7.
All right. You guys want to know what mine is?
Please, God.
Great segment, Ben.
Please, God, don't tell us.
I'm gonna
I'm kidding. I want to know. Why do you think I'm here?
Oh, man. Oh, my gosh. You got me.
What do you think I'm here for?
All right. Okay. Mine's a podcast.
Fuck.
It's called, and it was recommended to me by my father. Who is also Ben's father.
Hello to Uncle Brown.
Is that how we're related?
And also, well, my father now that I'm Ben's sister.
Right. So all of our father, Norbert, and it's
Wattenborn.
Norbit.
And it's called what do we call him? Norbot.
Norbot.
That's right. Norbot. And it's called Slow Burn. And there's a subtitle I don't remember.
Oh, I was muted when I said that. I've heard of this.
Oh, great.
Is it by Tish Hansfron?
It's a Slate podcast. It's called Slow Burn, a podcast about Watergate.
Oh, yes. This does sound cool.
Hey, you guys want me to blurb it too?
Yeah, blurb
it up.
All right,
blurb.
Okay, here's the blurb. You think you know the story, or maybe you don't, but Watergate was stranger, wilder, and more exciting than you can imagine. What did it feel like to live through the scandal that brought down President Nixon? Find out in this 8-episode podcast miniseries hosted by Leon
Greyjoy.
Nefik. You tell me how you would pronounce.
I can't see a goddamn thing. I can't see a goddamn thing, Hannah. It looks like blurry blurb. It's blurry blurby.
Blurry blurby. Hosted by Blurry Blurby. It's
hosted by Podcast Man.
So, whoever he is, he did a great job. I listened to the whole thing this weekend. What's really interesting about it is that it sounds incredibly familiar, which I will grant you part of that is on purpose. Part of the reason that this guy got interested in looking at Watergate was because he was wondering kind of like, what does it feel like to live through such a huge presidential scandal? And like, did people realize what they were living through while it was happening and all that kind of stuff? And that was like largely because of all the insanity that happens around our current president.
Turnip.
That you can't, turnip. You can't even keep up with what's going on with turnips. So,
what's that from?
My mouth.
I love it. Turnips are just falling out your mouth.
So, keep my turnip out your mouth.
Oh, what?
So, it's so basically, yeah, it's an 8-part miniseries. It's very, very good. There are some really interesting things, like in the first episode, it's all about this woman, and her name is, God, my memory is horrible.
That's a weird name.
Martha. Oh shit! I just hit play. Stop.
Wow.
Martha Mitchell. Do you guys know who that is?
Nope.
No.
Okay.
Is she my mom?
Is she the host of NBC's To Catch a Predator?
No, but she
That's
was
Martha Matthews.
a celebrity in the early years of around the time that Watergate happened, the Watergate robbery. She was a break-in. She was like a celebrity. She was the wife of like Nixon's campaign manager, and she was kind of a lush, and she really loved to talk to the press. So everybody just loved her, and everybody knew who she was. And so like, and kind of without her, what the whole Watergate scandal probably never would have kicked off the way that it did. Although the whole point of the podcast is it took like a couple of years for things to escalate to a point where the public even really like cared and turned on Nixon. Like halfway through when Watergate happened and when the impeachment happened, there was an election and he was reelected in like a landslide. Like people did not give a shit about Watergate for like
that's comforting,
a full year. Yeah, I know. There are elements about it that are extremely comforting and elements that are extremely scary. Like it did take a really long time to ramp up, and it did seem for a while like people just didn't care. Or there's all this sort of a ton of political entrenchment and mistrust between Democrats and Republicans in a way that feels very familiar. There were even like a lot of people who saw Reagan as like this tough guy Nixon as this like tough guy who
pause. That was great.
Who like didn't who you know, basically they didn't really care what his methods were or whether he was like acting like a totalitarian in some ways. They were just like, this is what the country needs. It's gonna get us back on track. I don't like all this civil rights stuff that's been happening. And then like, you know, also that was the beginning.
Holy shit.
That was also the beginning of like the Southern strategy that like eventually led the Republican Party to being like the party of Trump was Nixon, who took on Spiro Agnew as his vice president, who was like a big, not a big fan of like things like integration and stuff. So like,
have you watched Get Me Roger Stone?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I have.
He got started in the Nixon administration too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's like okay, I would recommend that you just listen to it. I think it's really worth listening to because there's several things like the Martha Mitchell episode is just really interesting, and like also the fact that if you're above a certain age, and I know this because it happened in a conversation with our dad. I think you were there, Ben. People are just shocked that you haven't heard of Martha Mitchell because she was so like present at a certain point in time. But also like who would be
a good parallel to her now? Like she's famous, but not for anything other than being like this kind of loudmouth, talkative person in this like specific point in time. Like
Donald Turnip.
I mean, I think there's a lot of people like that in like the world in general, but in politics, the person that kept coming to mind for me, and this is not a perfect example because she, I think, has a lot more intention to what she's doing, but I wonder how much people will remember like Kellyanne Conway in 30, 40 years, you know? Right. But I
was thinking possibly Sarah Palin too.
Yeah.
She'll probably be forgotten in like 20 years.
But even Sarah Palin was more like of a political figure than Martha Mitchell was. Like she was just this guy's wife who just really liked to talk. But yeah, she got like locked up for a while by like a Secret Service guy that was like left to keep an eye on her because she was being like she was like threatening to call her friends in the press, and they didn't want that to happen, and then she did it anyway, and so there was like a struggle that was heard over the phone of her of him like trying to make her stop having this phone call with her friend who worked for like a newspaper or whatever, like very like dark. I mean, it was like just an extremely amoral administration, like top to bottom.
And I believe that one of the people involved in keeping her locked up is now a member of the Trump administration in some way. Like he's he's like a deputy secretary of something.
Deputy secretary.
How do you know that, Ben, if you didn't know who she was?
I didn't remember the name, but I do remember like seeing on Twitter when there was a confirmation hearing about this guy and someone saying like, this is one of the people who locked up. So I remember the story of like locking up a woman during Watergate who was like threatening to
gotcha.
I think
someone.
they mentioned that in passing in the podcast. Yeah,
it's just fucking wild.
And then the next thing the next episode is about this guy who was like in the Senate or someplace who like tried to launch an investigation on Watergate and was like completely stonewalled even by the courts, and basically like ended up having this like, there was this famous photo of him like lecturing for empty chairs because he couldn't get like an actual subpoena through to get people to show up to this hearing he wanted to have, and so he just had to invite them, and then they decided not to come, and he just went through with it anyway because he wanted the spectacle and he wanted people to like become aware of this thing. And then there were all these hearings that like barely any press showed up to, and the people that did, like the public interest was so low that even the people that did, who were hearing these like fascinating things, like one of the first people that they interviewed who got like caught, breaking into the Watergate hotel, had to admit that he used to work for the CIA or something. And that was like, oh, okay, so there's some kind of like government connection here, like, and all these like shocking revelations would happen, and they'd get called in by all these junior reporters that were like watching these hearings happen, and then they would never get reported because there was just no level of interest for them at all from the public. So, and there was a lot of other stuff, going on in the world too, I guess. But yeah, it's really fascinating. There are some, so in that way, I don't know, I walked away feeling both hopeful and nervous about the situation. Because the other thing is, the thing that really was the turning point, and this is not like spoilers, it's all still worth listening to, but the thing that really was the turning point was the revelation that it's not spoilers because it's history.
Yeah.
Was that the revelation that Nixon had been taping all of his interactions in the Oval Office for like his entire presidency, because at that point it became really difficult if you were a supporter of his to continue believing in his innocence, because he was absolutely refusing to turn the tapes over under any circumstances, given any amount of cajoling, and his excuses for not doing so were extremely weak. Like, people just need to move on from this, and like actually some other things that sound extremely similar to a lot of the stuff that where it's like, this is becoming a distraction, this is ridiculous, there's nothing here, like all of this stuff, like, and the way that Nixon sounded on the tapes is the way that Trump sounds on Twitter. He just was a little bit more private about being a total monster, dirty racist, yeah. So that's like one of the things that makes me nervous, is like there was this thing that turned up that tied everything all together eventually. I don't know if any president ever will be like stupid enough to make that mistake again.
Well, could be.
We have Turnip.
You think he's recording all of his? I don't know. I don't know about that.
Remember when he was like, when the stuff came out at the dinner with Comey where he asked for his loyalty, and he was like, "You better hope there's not tapes." And it's like, do you know if there are tapes or not?
Well, it's like yeah, I mean, someone's probably recording him because he's refusing to give up his like civilian phone. There was an article about that today. So maybe someone has tapes of everything that he does.
Probably every foreign government in the world does.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then that was the other thing was that, like, apparently it also did feel very chaotic in this kind of way that we're experiencing now, where it was, like, on a day-to-day basis, you know, right up until the transcripts and the tapes actually came out, which was even after he had resigned, like, I think, but at least close to when he resigned, you just didn't, you just couldn't know exactly what the truth was or what things that were happening were connected or weren't. Like, another thing I didn't realize is that his vice president was forced to resign over a completely unrelated scandal right before he did.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, like, imagine living in that time, like, this thing never turned out to be connected to anything that happened, but of course you would be like, well, what does this have to, what, you know, this must have something to do with Watergate and, like, all this stuff.
Which vice president? Spiro Agnew?
Yeah.
He resigned right before Nixon did?
He resigned, yeah, before Nixon did.
I thought he resigned before his second term started.
I don't think so.
I thought he resigned right before Reagan did.
Tricky Dick Reagan.
Because Ford was already vice president by the time Nixon resigned. And getting a new vice president in involves, if it's not going through the election, involves having both the House and Senate approve it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is part of Nixon's insurance for not being impeached through this whole thing was that nobody wanted Spiro Agnew to be the president. But then when they had to appoint a new vice president, they appointed someone who was much less controversial and much more palatable as a president.
What do you think about Ford pardoning Nixon, like, right away?
Honestly, especially after hearing all of the context of it, like, I think there were some loyalty reasons why he did it, because he always was a supporter of Nixon. But I get it. Like, I feel like as a leader, you're trying to, like, create an environment where people can be, like, happy and safe and comfortable. And his whole reasoning of, like, there would be no end to all of this chaos if, like, everybody was going through all of these recordings that were now completely out there in the open for anyone to go through with a fine-tooth comb and looking for more things that were, like, you know, punishable and stuff. That I agree there would have been no end to the chaos and turmoil over it. So, like, I understand why he did it. I think. I mean, I don't know that I know why he did it, but I think I might have done the same thing in his position.
I feel like that's a very difficult decision as, like, the first thing that you do as president, you know?
Mm-hmm. Like, to me, it rang extremely hollow, you know, when Nixon was like, I'm not going to release the tapes because we as a nation need to move on from this. But once the book was closed and everything was, like, out there in the open, that's when it makes sense for you as the president, in my opinion, to be like, it's time for us to move on from this. Like, we need to, as a country, to move on from this.
But then, of course, people did go to jail for it. Only Nixon got pardoned, as far as I know, right? Which is kind of fucked up. Like, I think other people involved didn't end up having some prison time.
I don't know if they got into that. It was the people that actually broke and entered.
Yeah, I think so.
They probably went to jail.
People involved in the cover-up as well.
I don't remember that from the thing. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. I don't think he mentioned it in the thing.
Have you finished the whole thing?
Yeah, I finished the whole thing.
Okay.
She listened to it all this weekend, Ben.
Is it, how long is it?
It's not long. Well, it's 8 episodes, and they're each like about a half hour.
She had to listen to it instead of going to your graduation, Ben.
No, it was really today. It wasn't this weekend.
Oh, which is it, Hannah?
Hey,
lies.
Hey, this is.
Didn't you tell us you don't lie to us in this podcast?
Excuse me. I have a fun fact from my fact checker. He's now also my fun factor. Massachusetts, and this was mentioned in the podcast, Massachusetts was the only state that voted against Nixon for a second term. Every other state voted for him.
Because Michael Dukakis was our governor.
Massachusetts is so, like, smug about these things. Like,
I thought you were going to say smart.
No, y'all are fucking smug. Y'all are like, well, we've always had universal health care. And you're like, well, we did not vote for Trump.
And we were the first state in the nation to legalize gay marriage, I believe, also.
Yeah,
That is
I believe.
True. I don't think that's true.
I believe.
Well, we were one of the first ones.
Y'all are like, so, okay, we know.
I think it was
You're like
Vermont.
the golden child of the frickin' country, okay? We know.
We're the liberal elite.
Oh no, it was Massachusetts.
Fuck you, Ben.
Oh, I forgot.
So that's mine. You should listen to it.
It sounds really interesting. I think I will.
Yeah, same.
It was
Maybe I'll pick up a book about this from the library as well.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about reading some more history books lately.
Oh, you know what? Me too. Maybe we should do a history book club.
Yeah.
Well, count me out. But listen, they are doing a second season about the Clinton impeachment years.
Cool.
So that'll be also very interesting. But it just made me feel, it honestly, overall, just made me feel better knowing that anything like this has happened before, and that the country came out the other side still looking like America, you know?
America!
That's where I'm at. So.
Yeah, cool. Same.
Cool. Well, then, let's...
Good obsession, Han.
Thank you. Let's give homework to our listeners.
Homie work
For our homies.
Okay,
There.
mine is, if you're interested to check out YouTube videos of NBC's To Catch a Predator with Dear Evan Hansen, and if you're, for the brave of heart, there is The Pedophile Hunter on Amazon Prime, which is pretty good, except there's basically it's explicit. So obviously trigger warnings all around. But watch justice be served to gross dudes.
Yeah.
My Twitter is at Erin, and I review lesbian movies on Instagram at LesbianMovieReviews.
Woo.
Sick.
Ben.
I have homework too.
What is
Ben
it?
has homework. Ben doesn't have like actual homework because on account that he's graduated.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. My homework is to watch or play Shadow of the Colossus. It's really fun to play. It's also really great to watch because it's a very pretty game. My Twitter is NEDiscoGreg. Post pictures of Como there. He's a cute boy.
He's a cute boy.
That's it. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
My homework is listen to Slow Burn, a podcast about Watergate. I think that's what the thing is.
Now that you've like totally talked about it and described it, that name makes so much sense now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's very
Great naming, Slate.
very good, informative, and somewhat soothing. So listen to it. And then it's also, I guess, there's extra content you can get if you join Slate Plus. But as I've mentioned before, I don't pay money for podcasts. Thank you, and good night. Oh, my Twitter.
You know what? And I feel like you can totally say that because you put out a podcast that you do not ask for money about.
Right.
Though if you guys want to give us money...
Yeah, please
Do it.
give us money, actually. Can we have some money, please? Money, please.
Money, please.
Like, it's not entirely free to put out a podcast.
It's not. And I shouldn't say that because I understand people are just, like, trying to monetize their dreams and stuff. But, you know, I just don't do it. I'm not there yet.
I think Kroger should sponsor our podcast. Kroger, the maker of Fizz & Co. seltzers with a hint of the doctor flavor. Pick some up today. I love that doctor flavor.
When you say it like
the
that.
copy writes itself.
Delicious soda taste and bubbly fun without the calories.
Money, please.
Let's send this clip to Kroger's.
Okay. My Twitter is Anthropology. And our podcast Twitter, if you want to reach us, is at 2broadpod, TOO broadpod. You can also email us, Kroger, at waytoobroad@gmail.com.
We have a correction. Oh, sorry.
You can join our Facebook group, and what's the correction?
I got a text from, shout out to our cousin Andy.
Oh.
Who said that the A's in Adeline are like in Mad.
Adeline.
That's
pretty.
Okay. What did we said? Adeline?
We said Adeline. Just
okay. I like both.
I like both. I really love Adeline.
Yeah.
Our cousin. So shout outs to her.
I really love her and her name and her parents and her brother.
And her brother.
Yeah. Shout outs to everybody.
And her aunts and uncles.
Yeah. And her whole family. So shout outs again. Thank you for the correction. Sorry that we said her name wrong. Thanks for listening.
But thanks for listening.
We're flying blind. We're flying blind, Andy.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was born like the day before we recorded that.
Yeah, why don't you just give us a freaking break?
Jesus fucking Christ, Andy.
You're
not going to
really
release a pronunciation guide with your birth announcement. I don't want to hear about it.
He was actually super nice about it. It was not. It wasn't a.
All right, I do want to
hear about it. But get off our case, okay?
Thank you for the correction, and please get off our case. We love you. You can leave us a review on iTunes. Andy,
5 stars only.
Or Kroger.
Yeah, iTunes is bugged right now. You can only put 5 stars. Don't try anything else.
Please.
Yeah, it breaks your computer, actually. It, deletes everything on your freaking computer.
Yeah.
But it can't delete that memory of that sweet Dr. flavor from Kroger's Fizz & Co. seltzers.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody, and thank you, Kroger. The podcast candle is now extinguished. Bye, Kroger. Bye.